Good day, my dear watching audience. Today, for this Foreign Myanmar program, our candidate is from the Netherlands. She has a bachelor's, 2 masters, and has come now to Myanmar to work for an NGO for democracy, peace, and development, and is multi-instrumentalist. Her name is Annie Heckendorff, and we're interviewing her today about her and her experience in this country. Let's go. There she is. Hi, Annie.
Hi, it's nice to meet you.
Coming here.
Thanks for having me on your show.
Hello, Annie. Welcome to my interview and also to Myanmar. So you've been here from Netherlands for 2 months now.
Mm-hmm.
May I know how you first came to know about this country?
So the first time that I learned about Myanmar was actually from a documentary. So it's called ZawGyi-One. It's a really good documentary. You should watch. It's about it shows how people live in different parts of the world, and it also has a couple of nature shots. So one of the nature shots was, the picture that everyone knows of Myanmar, like the Bagan temples. So that was the first time that I was confronted sort of with the imagery of Myanmar with these temples and, the hot air balloons and the sunset and all of that. And I was super intrigued by that because it was just like a different world, like for someone who hasn't traveled that much at the time. So I saw that and I always wanted to go, but I was quite small then, so it wasn't really something that I could do. I didn't have like an income or anything. And the reason why I actually ended up coming here is more out of like academic interest. I have a background in international law and conflict studies, so it's a very it's an orientation that that is very international, and it's especially in the context of Myanmar with the conflicts that are going on at the moment. It was a good place to apply the knowledge that I got from university. So I got this offer from Hans Seidel, the organization that I'm working with, and I immediately accepted because it was a dream of mine to come here at some point.
Cool. I see. Now, a couple interesting things about you. You studied law at the university and are capable of playing both the violin and piano. I'm very impressed with it. Most of your work, I discovered, had to do with building peace and human rights interests. How did your passion for that area grow?
I think so. The reason why I studied international law was mainly because, to be honest, for a long time I didn't know like what I wanted to do. Like, it's not that as a kid I had this dream like I wanted to be this or that. No. My idea was just because I used to travel a lot. Also, my parents travel a lot, so I wanted to do something where I'm not like bound to one place. So that's where the international orientation came from. And then the human rights perspective, I think it's more the result of thinking about what do I want to do with my life. Like, how do I want to fill my life with meaning? Like, how can I do it that at some point, if I leave this world, I can say I have done something that is worth something, and. Especially this, the area that I went into, the conflict studies, is more like I just didn't understand like why do people do such a thing? Like, why do people kill each other for reasons that I don't understand? And I wanted to get an understanding of that, and I wanted to be able to, even if it's just a very tiny part that I'm contributing to, like making world peace always sounds like cheesy or whatever, but just to contribute a little bit to like positive. Development of conflict-riddled countries like Myanmar, for example. So I think this is where the interest comes from, or where the motivation comes from. At the moment, I mean, I haven't really had much experience in terms of like a career. I did some voluntary work here and there, and I did some like projects here and there, and now I'm doing this internship at this NGO that I'm working with. But I still have to figure out which exact direction I want to go in, like if I actually want to stay in Myanmar also for a longer time. Also, what is on the table is, for example, like staying in research, going back to research, like doing a PhD, something in that direction. So, yeah.
Apart from here, you've worked in Britain, Germany, and the Netherlands. How would you compare the experience working in these countries to here? What would be the major similarities and differences that stand out the most?
It's a bit difficult to answer the question merely because of the fact that, of course, there's different working cultures in different countries, but I think it also depends very much what the culture of the company is. So, like, for example, in the Netherlands, I did over the years 3 different jobs, and it's like all these jobs are very different, and like the way it is structured is different. But on a general level, I would say like Germany is super hierarchical. So you have like the boss, who's like the big boss, who has like the say in everything, who tells you what to do. and much more bureaucratic also. So there's a rule for everything. I mean, that's also the stereotype about like Germans, right? There's a rule for everything, and the rules always have to be adhered to. So there's like no flexibility that much. And Netherlands is much more flexible in that. So also the hierarchies are flat. So you can actually like talk to your bosses as if they were your friends almost. It's like a very amicable kind of relationship you have like with your coworkers and with your bosses. And I think the difference to Myanmar is also difficult to say for me because my NGO is a German NGO. So like I think the working style that we have is pretty much German. There's lots of rules that there's no way around those rules. It's very very bureaucratic at times as well. But I think from what I hear from other people and what I see also like happening is that I think generally like you guys are more relaxed about things. Like it's not there's more flexibility. Like it's more the way of communicating between people is friendlier, I guess, and less hierarchical. Also, I'm not sure if that's true. That's just like the first impression that I got, that people treat each other better like on the workplace, and that there's not that much like pressure also. Like it's not that like you have to do this now and then this and then this and then this, you know.
Yeah.
Well, there's advantages and disadvantages in both. I do think that like for example in the Netherlands they get things done, like, and I think here sometimes it's a problem that because there's no like strict deadlines, because there's no like proper like rules that always have to be adhered to, it also sometimes like things don't really get done. Like you have to ask again, and you have to like go, okay, can you please do this, and then they don't do it, and like you have to ask, can you please like help me out with this. So I think everything is like a little bit less efficient, let's say, but it feels much nicer to work here because you don't have this pressure. And I think there's a reason why back home lots of people are less friendly, are like, we have lots of problems with like mental illness, for example, because there's almost so much pressure on people to perform like quick and like be the best, and competition, and you know, like all these kinds of values that are very stressful for people. So I think in terms of efficiency, like Germany, Netherlands is probably better, but in terms of the way that people work together, the sort of like the atmosphere of the like of working together with Burmese people is by far nicer. Yeah, I think that's more or less it. But as I said, it depends like between companies, and so.
All right. So far, what is one most memorable experience working here? It could be either a very funny or shocking one, or anything interesting that was uniquely in this country.
Okay. So I have a concrete example, actually, that happened. Like, so I was on a retreat with my coworkers, and so my coworkers, my two bosses are Germans, and then my other coworkers are they're Burmese. So they're like they're 4 Burmese women, and one driver, and so we went because we like I don't know how to explain this, but we have to come up with a schedule basically for the next 2 years to get like funding from our like from the organization that sponsors us, and so we have to write like a plan, like what are our goals and so on. So we went. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Like we went to this location in Bago all together to talk about these kinds of things, and we had bungalows. So like each person had their bungalow. It was in the countryside, and so the first night. I didn't really like notice that anything was happening because I was sleeping, but they told me the next morning that the driver that he saw a ghost at night, specifically an African ghost with like long black hair and like dark skin, and apparently the driver got a bit nervous because of that, and he changed his bungalow and so on, and we like, to be honest, we laughed a little bit about it because we thought like ghosts. I mean, like, I don't really believe in ghosts, you know, but then it was like, oh, fine, we didn't talk that much about it. Like he had a new bungalow, so everything good. And then the next night, it was 2 nights that we stayed there, and the next night, all of my coworkers saw ghosts. So everyone in the morning was very nervous because everyone had seen or like at least heard a ghost. And I do think that like, of course, if you already beforehand think about this, like if you go to bed and you're like, oh shit, like maybe there's a ghost around or something, like you're also more likely to hear something and then interpret it as like being a ghost. And but for me, I don't know if it's funny because of course like people have like different beliefs and like but I found it quite it was new to me, like I haven't met people that like actually see ghosts before.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, this was like one example that was like a new experience for me. But I think generally working with people from Myanmar, like it's amazing because there's so much motivation, there's so much energy, and so much like entrepreneurial spirits, so much energy, which also from home I don't know that much. Like people want to compete, as I said, like they want to be the best in whatever, they want to work hard, but it's not like the spirit is not really there. And here I have the feeling that there's more motivation, more optimism. Yeah.
Good. Before we wrap up, just one more thing. How would you briefly describe Myanmar back to other people who don't know it?
I think the word that I would use is friendliness, kindness. Yeah, like I have talked about this now I think a couple of times. It's about like back home, just people are stressed and often they don't really take the time anymore to like be kind to each other. So everyone is doing their own thing, sort of like everyone is sort of like fighting for themselves in a sense, and there's a lot of suspicion between people, and I think this is one of the things that I noticed from the start here in Myanmar, and that I also like continue noticing every day, that like people are kind and people like treat each other much more fairly, like with trust, and also like with like open hearts. So I think this is the thing I would that would first come to my mind.
Cool. Thank you, Annie.
Thank you very much.
That was our interview with Miss Heckendorff. Now you know about one more foreign figure from beyond Myanmar. We will share a lot more foreign Myanmar stories on our educational and entertaining MC House. So do stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. See you soon.